Good morning guys, James here. Welcome to Düsseldorf 2024. We are back of course on the Axopar stand this morning to continue our look around the model range. Now behind me here, this is a really exciting one. We resisted the urge to put this one out first day as it is the all new Axopar 29. Now we're going to do the sun top this morning. This is the open version and I just spin round here so you can take her in her full glory. We snuck in early, they haven't turned the big overhead lights on yet. But if you can imagine a grey day in the Solent, just how bright and funky looking these really are. So all white boat, and then we have what is going to be called the Adventure Collection, launching later in the springtime, which will include things like this black rubbing band. Of course, the Axopar 28 is where it all started for this brand, and across the model range have built over 6,000 boats to date. So really important, this is an update to an all new hull on the most successful platform in the range, and it was really critical that they improved everything rather than breaking it. Really hard on an evolution of a model sector, but I think they've absolutely nailed it. There's some really cool stuff up here. They've really thought about the boat, maintain that rugged Axopar design, say things like the rubbing strakes running around the back end of the bathing platform, so very practical when you're coming alongside. 20-degree deep V hull, as is synonymous with all Axopars. Barrel thruster up there in the front, 2 steps underneath, so very efficient. They tell us up to 30% more efficient on this hull than the outgoing 28. Of course, the reverse chine here on the nose is the anti-stuff bow that pops the nose back up on a following sea and just helps you reduce the chances of a stuff. Just show you there from the front how sharp these are into the water, and up front the optional electric anchor winch package. So let's head up here and see her up close and personal. So lots of different zones on the boat and some big changes here. So basically the boat lifts up underneath on this forward decking area. We've got a whole cabin arrangement as an option here in the front. There's a new multi-configurable aft cockpit here, and the main change, as you can see here, is we've now opened up the aft cockpit. Joined of course with my lovely wife Kim here this morning, who's going to show us around some of these features on the boat, as of course she is here all week, and the opportunity to come and check these out in the flesh over the next few days. We do have the first cabin version coming into the UK later in the spring, but it is going to be some time before you will see one of these sun tops here in the UK, so really do encourage you to get out here over the next few days if you want to know more. So why would they move the seating forward? Obviously lots of boats have all of this back here, lots of thought gone into this, but talking to Jan Erik, it's some really basic things such as back seat back here. We are right next to this big noisy V8 engine. That of course when you're cruising also means air rushing down the side deck, freeze drying you in the face here on the back. So they've of course pushed everything forward and enclosed it underneath the sun top. Also, if you're into your fishing and water sports, trying to get your wakeboard on and what have you, there was no aft deck space to do that unless you elected to go without that sun pad version on the aft. But of course now we have the best of both worlds. You can keep your sun pad and all this table configuration we'll show you shortly, with the benefit of this big open cockpit. So loads of room for fishing out the back, dive kit, and of course all the different adventure activities that our Axopar owners are so excited by. And just come in on here and you can see a few of the facts and figures. The boat is actually a little bit longer, but similar weight, and of course the big change on the spec for me is the increased range. So we've got now a 400 litre fuel tank, upgraded from the 280 litres that were in the outgoing boat, and that has increased the range massively. Burn around 1.5 litres per nautical mile with the 300 V8 engine on the back. That's of course for us the pretty common spec choice we see in the UK. There of course are the new V10 350 and 400 single engines to come on this platform, and for those that want the twins, there are the twin 200 V6, as we saw very successful on the outgoing boat. Now she runs around 42 knots with the 300, and I suspect with the twins probably around 46, 47 knots, and somewhere in between with the 2 single options. Not yet tested with those, so further data we can share with you later on. So just looking around the back here, we've got of course the stainless steel ski frame, this being an optional extra, allowing you to tow those water sports toys. And then we have some EVA soft foam decking. So this one, say, just here in the aft cockpit, but there will be later plans to offer a full decking package throughout the boat. It's a soft, grippy foam deck, and as such, whether it's bare feet or in shoes, very, very practical. Now you can see lots of practical touches underneath here, like the fast drain deck, so water over the top drops through that aft scupper and out through the back very quickly. And then on the aft quarters we have these two seat boxes, so Kim will just pop those open so we can see how that works. Option with a cushion, of course, on top. Nice finish here. They're constantly upgrading all of the fit and finish on these, but we have moulded in lockers. You can see the transom shower, which is an optional upgrade. Handy place to store your lines and what have you. And there is a later discussion around putting some sort of wet bar into this area with a sink and top loading cool box. We moved across to JL Audio on some of the other boats in the range last year, and you can see a big AV package on this one with some speakers here in the back, the cockpit and up on the foredeck. Across the other side, so this is just a mirror image of what we've seen with a manual bilge pump handle in there as well. Now Kim's just going to pop up the floor hatch. Obviously storage on a boat is always at a premium, and you can see this is a really good locker that runs right up forward underneath that aft seat. Got access for batteries and what have you underneath that lower deck panel there as required. You see things like foam seals on the hatch there to keep water out if you are taking green waves over the top. Running down the side, of course, so we've kept our rugged stainless steel rails, so it's very safe. You can drop down the camera here, you can see very nice bulwark arrangement, so if you've got young kids and dogs and what have you, it does feel very safe on the boat. Little touch, they've shortened the rails, which has given the option now to put this side step in with a lower rung there, just to make life on and off if you're coming alongside a little easier. And then if we spin round, see how this roof works. So it is now an optional extra to have this opening electric centre section, and there's a button up on the front there to allow you to transform the boat into an open or closed setting in just a few seconds. Now there will later be a canopy addition also coming round the roof here, and it will allow this aft seating area and the helm itself to be enclosed, and that then means the boat is practical all year round. We, of course, on the 28s, we're often fitting diesel heating actually into this area, just to give a little bit of warmth for those that like their winter boating. And I'm sure there will be the option for us to do that on this platform at a later date. Now you can really start to see, if I bring the camera down, how that deck lifts up as we go forward. So we're going to actually start up on the bow, and we'll come back and see this cockpit in just a sec. So big change up here. Of course, the outgoing boat, we just had an L-shaped seat over on the port side and a walk-through all the way here onto the bow. There is, of course, being Axopar, a number of different configurations, and this particular one, you can have this starboard side seat here as an optional upgrade. So the standard moulded in port side locker here over on this side then runs forward with, again, a fixed moulding. We'll just pop those up and you can see space, nicely finished lockers. We have the optional shore power system in there, and then under this one, space to store the sunbed cushions. There is a bag for the table, of course, and a couple of different sets of legs depending on whether it's in table or sunbed configuration. And then this starboard side one, you can see an open unit. It is actually the moulding off the aft end of one of the smaller Axopars. You can see very cleverly integrated, and it gives you this lovely big seating area. So on the old boat, you might have got maybe 2 of you, 3 at a squeeze up here on the bow, but you can see with us, lots of room to really chill out with that new seat across the front end of the cabin. Really space for 6, maybe even 8 people up here. Up on the bows itself, just lift this up, we have, as we saw earlier, the electric anchor winch, and that gives you easy launch and recovery. Cushions, of course, all being Axopar optional extras, and then we have the harbour cover set as well to make this easy to stow. So Kim's just going to lift this up. This is the new multi-storage area in the forward end of the boat, and this is a real transformation. So this would have just been a bathroom compartment with a basic loo and sink in the old boat. But as you can see now, I'll just scan round to show you the space that has been created down here. So of course, being practical, we have the loo, and the sink at the back. Kim's just going to climb in and show you how easy it is to get down in there. Can be a very basic area if you just want to use it as a day boat, but for somebody that wants to sleep in it, it does now give you genuine 4 berths. So of course, toilet is optional. We have a basic seawater system or a full electric with freshwater flush, and of course a holding tank to go with it. Nice moulded locker lid there. Cushion pack again being an optional extra, and a handy cold water sink there, tips down into the aft tray behind and overboard. Electric switch panel up there, and then we've got up above us in the roof here some skylights, and of course LED lighting throughout to keep your power consumption to a minimum. Now, in order to make this into an instant bed, very, very simple to do. You have this little drop down wood platform, a panel that comes across, and then already designed into the seat cushion there is an instant fill in, and we now have a full size bed suitable for 2 adults. So the boat now is genuine an overnighter, with the option in this particular configuration to sleep in that centre section back in the cockpit where you could put the canopies up. Of course, those wanting to do more camping on the water might be better off with the cross cabin derivative. Kim's just putting that back into sort of day usage. And if I spin round just to show you how all of this works, you can see a number of different sockets in the floor. Now this is a real easy, simple touch, but it allows the table to come back and use these 2 sockets, and then you've got a seating area here, a bit more space around the table for dining and what have you, and then the table will drop down into this area, as you can see here, and I'm going to cut in a picture to show you that set up as a sunbed. Of course, we saw the cushions in that port side locker a little earlier. Up top, of course, optional to have a little tower with a radar, remote control spotlight, and all of the handy running additions if you're venturing further afield. And then if we come back here, just scan around and you can see this new central layout. Now, of course, this bit is synonymous with Axopar. We've done this for many years in different models, and we have the multi-function Helm and co-pilot seats here with some storage or appliances underneath. So the sink, of course, is an option, and then we can do a top loading electric cool box in that one. We actually have that option on the cabin version that's here at the show, so I can show you that later in the week when we have a look at that boat. Standard battery switches tucked down the back, but we do have the option for the remote solenoid version there, just a little bit more easy to use when you first come on. And let's climb down. You'll notice, as per the 28 before, a step down to put you right behind the windscreen. So we are behind the glass here, very, very protected at a helm. But if we put the seat cushion up, as it is here, feet on the platform there, we are now, with my eye line, around 6 foot tall, looking out through that gap, and a nice option to get the wind in your hair if you enjoy that sort of open boat feel. Now, of course, Axopar, it's ergonomic, everything's to hand, it's been well thought out, it's not overcomplicated, and we've got all of the typical options we saw before. Trim tabs, a bow thruster with a remote control, a dashboard controller for the AV, being a couple of different packages, and a nice bank of LED switches for different systems on board. Now we have the low level LED deck lights that you can see here on this particular boat. We have the option for underwater lights and various other navigation functions. These are Simrad's new widescreen plotters. I can't tell you too much about these yet, as they haven't officially yet been released, but suffice to say, rather than that sort of 12-inch typical rectangle display that we would see, these are a proper sort of heads-up widescreen version of their new processor, and we'll bring you a little bit more on that in the future. Tilt helm wheel is cool, really useful, it allows you a bit more space when you're docking, get into a comfy position when driving fully sat down. And of course, Mercury's fly-by-wire throttle control allows very, very easy docking, as you can see, in and out of gear. First mate system, of course, being standard on all of the London Group boats that we spec, and as such very safe. When you leave the helm, you do have complete control of the engine. In an emergency situation, it will stop if you were to go over the side, or you can remote stop it if something suddenly occurs whilst you're not within reach of the throttle box. Seats, of course, so these will spin as before, and you have the option here to drop the cushion down to make them a seat. or a leaning post as we see here. Often you would turn around the passenger one there to use as an observation whilst running perhaps with a skier, and keep the captain facing forward, or you can spin them both round and then we're all part of the same area for dining. So the aft configuration for seating and sunbathing, I'm actually going to put in a number of different pictures here. We took the boat apart this morning to take different photos of it in its various configurations, but you can see the same size table actually off an Axopar 45, expanding leaves, so very simple to bring these in, gives a bit more space around the table. Of course you can spin it round here 90 degrees to give you another option, or it's on a high-low mechanism that drops down into this central recess, and that makes a giant sun pad. Now of course it wouldn't be Axopar with some further innovation, and this backrest gives a number of different layouts depending then as how you want to use that space. The side bolsters are removable, the backrest can come forward, we can create a nice bench seat arrangement here with everybody facing forward. We can flip that bench seat round in its current space to give you an aft bench facing back in the cockpit, again setting up your water sports equipment really handy. Or with it sat at the forward end of the cockpit here facing backwards, we then have a giant sun pad looking out at the back of the boat when you're at anchor, somewhere peace and quiet to chill out and watch the world go by. It's very, very simple to use. Say, just cutting in a few of those photos, it's easy to understand why I think this is going to be such a successful boat in the range. Of course, there's bound to be some further upgrades to come in the future. Axopar still evolving. It's not a prototype, it is full production boat now, but we're not expecting to see many of these in the UK this year. So, pricing. We do have pre-launch pricing here, and I think typical spec, we have worked these out in the UK, likely to come in somewhere around £180,000 with a single engine. Of course, the boats are sold in euros and therefore price does fluctuate, but that's a pretty typical spec with decent nav kit, bow thruster, and all of the typical options you'd see on a boat for use on the south coast and further afield in those sort of cold water climates. Now, she is dry stackable, just over 9 metres long, too big to trailer in the UK legally, but most of our owners electing either to keep in the stacks or a wet berth. We can of course help you find somewhere to keep it if you so wish. Now, I do have some limited availability running towards the latter part of this year. We are forming an orderly queue with these, whether it's the cabin or the Suntop version, so if you do want to get on the water on this particular model, you do need to get in touch and start talking seriously to us in the not too distant future. We have a full cost configuration with all of the available launched options so far, and we'd love to talk through a little bit more about what we can do for you for the 24 and 25 season. So contact details as always. Oh, they just brought the lights on for us. That's handy. I say, James and Kim here. So we work out of the Southampton office in Swanwick Marina. Of course, we're covering many different territories, but if you'd like to know more, as always, it's james@axoparlondongroup.com or kim@axoparlondongroup.com. The office number being 01489 579 854. Look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can make your Axopar dream come true.